Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am your host. I am a bass player and songwriter from the Jam City, Dayton, Ohio. It is Wednesday, the 31st of December, 2025, the last day of 2025, and this episode is episode 125, where I am talking to Juliet Fromholt and Taylor Ruckle about our favorite albums of this year. You can hear it all on the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. This is a super enjoyable conversation that I get to have with Juliet and Taylor every year, and I hope you find your new favorite music by listening to us. Here we go. It is that time. Hello, Juliet. Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
Hello.
2025 is winding down. We're going to talk about some of the favorite things we heard. And there's no way we heard it all because there's a lot of good music. And we encourage people listening, if we miss something that you love, you can feel free to reach out to any of us and tell us. We'll listen to you because we're music nerds. And I wanted to flip the script this year. Oh, before I talk about flipping the script, I have a question. The Verve Pipe, Counting Crows, Garbage, Spin Doctors, and Tracy Bonham all put out records this year. Are we sure it's like 1994 or 1995?
I am wearing wide leg jeans again too, so I'm not sure.
The twist is we're going to do the honorable mentions first because we always end up rushed, and maybe there's a couple of those that we might want to spend more time talking about, looking at you, Taylor. So we're gonna talk about our just missed the top 10 lists first, and as always, ladies first. So Juliet will kick us off.
Okay, I'll start off my honorable mentions with perhaps the most obvious choice for me personally, and this is going to get into a bit of a snobby record collector diatribe too. The reason for it being an honorable mention, Buckingham Nicks. I couldn't not include it on my list, but also because I have been a snobby record collector since I was about 12, I've heard this album. It is not new to me. I've owned 2 different copies on vinyl for years, and yet I'm so excited that the album is back in the world. The remaster sounds beautiful, so I had to acknowledge it. It's so lovely to hear these songs out in the public and hear people really celebrating this release, but I couldn't justify putting it on my full top 10 because I've been listening to this album for the better part of my life.
You can continue if you have more. We'll just get them all. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All of them? Okay. All right. So I have 3 honorable mentions. So Buckingham Nicks, number 1. Number 2, one of those that was like those hard choices at the at the end of the list. Jensen McRae's I Don't Know How, But They Found Me. I really love this record. I really love what Jensen McRae is doing in the music space. I'm really excited to hear more of her. She's killing it live as well. I got to see her live this spring. And this is a really, really solid record. It's like one of those that like ask me again on another day and it might actually end up in my top 10. Third one, same thing. Ask me again on another day, and I might rearrange things just a little bit. Snoopers Worldwide. This is just such a solid punk rock album. It is so much fun. It both nods to all of the things I love about earlier iterations of punk rock. It is loud, it is aggressive, but it still feels fresh and modern. It's a Third Man Records release, so it sounds great, and I highly recommend checking it out.
And they covered the Beatles, right?
Yeah, they did.
Which is crazy. That record rules. I co-signed that pick. I co-signed Jensen McRae also. I had the opportunity to interview her for Flood magazine earlier this year, and that was one of my highlights of the year. Saw her at the Atlantis in DC. Incredible. That also could have been on my top 10 list. For my honorable mentions, if you don't mind me jumping right in, Mike, I will say I'm just going to offer kind of a blanket statement that if you heard about an album this year that it seems like I would like based on my track record, I did like it. I liked the new Mountain Goats record. I liked the new Cheek Face record. I liked the new Billy Woods, Open Mike Eagle, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, The Last Dinner Party. These are all fantastic albums. I just wanted to dig deeper for my picks. So I just wanted to put out a blanket statement. artists I've spoken favorably about in the past. I still love them.
For mine, Mobley put out a full length, and he's a Austin artist that released a concept EP a couple of years ago that I still in love with and still listen to. I didn't like this one quite as much, but he's one of those people that's ever changing, super creative, plays like 9 instruments. Uh, I think he's awesome. Lung, their latest album is in my honorable mention, The Swan Keeper. They just keep being more innovative and weird, and I mean that as a compliment, and also loud. Of the 90s bands that released a new record, the Verve Pipes one was my favorite of the year. They still write, well, not they, because Brian Vander Ark writes all the songs. He still writes great songs. They sing in 4-part harmony live. They do it on the record. Good songs, solid execution, and they're going on tour next year, opening for Our Lady Peace on Our Lady Peace's 30th year anniversary tour. Stress Dolls is it's a one person, but her project name is Stress Dolls. Think punky, rocky with lady vocals. She's based out of Buffalo, but also does a bunch of shows in Cleveland. And she works at an NPR affiliate, much like Juliet, and has a show where she spins local music, local indie music on her show. So she's kind of one of us, wants to support indie artist in her area. And shout out to, I wish I remembered her name because I remember sending her an email telling her I liked the record, but I forget. But shout out to the very nice lady from Stress Dolls for being cool. Sigh, deep breath. All right, on to the top 10. Juliet.
All right, my number 10 is Nightmares on Wax's Echo 45 sound system. Nightmares on Wax is an artist that I have loved for a long time. One of the many artists in that initial trip hop movement, whether we're calling it trip hop or not, debatable. Nightmares on Wax have continued to work for many, many years, but they haven't had an album that's really hit me in the same way as the earlier stuff until this one. It is structured like a mixtape. There is a continuous flow of music. There are a lot of guests, including Yasin Bey, and it is just such a vibe. It's the album I've wanted from them for quite a while. And again, you're going to hear me say this a lot. It feels right in place with their early work, and yet it feels fresh and modern and doesn't just feel like a late 80s, early 90s throwback. It feels like it's still contributing something musically in 2025.
That is so cool. I love trip hop. I did not hear about this. I will be hearing this later. My number 10 is going to be a local band, DC band. They're called Nighthawk. The album is called Before We Begin. They were a complete surprise to me, not on my radar at all this year, but they're one of a few really great pop rock bands that have popped up around town recently. Another one is Bara, I'm a big fan of. As far as Nighthawk goes, I kind of struggle to put my finger on what they remind me of. I get a little bit of 2000s radio pop rock stuff like The Fray, maybe, without the piano, or Lifehouse, maybe, or there's maybe a lighter version of some like Rainer Maria type emo stuff going on here. I don't know. What I can say is that they have really great double vocals. They have a violinist in the band, which is one of my favorite things a band can have. And they have a lot of great catchy songs on this record. If I have to recommend one, you only have time for one. The song is Alone in the Summer. Check it out. Local act. I haven't seen them live yet, but I was really, really excited to hear this record this year.
Cool. So, as per usual, mine are not in any order except for number one. It's number one. But new listeners, that's how I roll. I have a hard time separating my babies. So, I'm going to preface this one with a story. A couple of years ago, there were two indie artists who are not from the same part of the country, but who I discovered from reading music blogs and music magazines, such as the kind that Taylor contributes to. And I liked them, and I found out they were going on tour together, and I was like, I have to go see this. And there were only like 7 or 8 shows, and they were all on the East Coast. So I spent some Sky Miles and got myself a free flight to Maine. I had never been to Maine to catch these folks on tour. And when you go meet an indie band and tell them that you flew from Ohio to see them, they're kind of like, okay, either you're really cool or you're a stalker, serial killer type. And long story short, I made friends with one of them, and her name is Victoria, but she records under the Spoonerism Pictoria of Arc, and she released a new album this year called Nothing Sticks, and it is fantastic. First of all, she's a bass player, so all of us bottom end purveyors got to stick together. Fellow bass player, her approach to writing songs is different than mine, but a lot closer to what I do than your average guitarist. So I feel like I relate to her. She's outrageously talented and plays as a hired gun for a lot of other indie bands, based on tour. But this project, the songs, is similar songwriting to what she's done, maybe a little more upbeat than some of her other stuff, but more textured or more layered than in the past. She plays a lot of bass chords and adds a lot of atmosphere on her own, but this time she did not quite as much of that and brought a whole lot of other instruments that you won't hear on her past records. There's violin and viola on this, Taylor. Taylor's probably heard this one because I think you did an interview with her, didn't you? Yeah, of course you did.
I reviewed this record actually. I did not interview Victoria Vark.
Ah, okay. Uh, I like the record. I feel like Taylor probably liked it. Juliet, if you haven't heard it, it's really good. It's 10 songs of very sincere indie rock, and she's just a lovely human being, and I call her a friend now. And the album came out like in February. Let me see. No, it came out in March, and it made it to the top 10 for me. It's very good. I re-listened to it this week. It holds up for me still. And in the radio business, Juliet, I believe you call it a tease when I say my next one is going to be the other indie artist from that tour. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Tease is the correct term, or forward promote. My number 9 is Lifetime by Erica de Cassier. She is a Portuguese-born Danish singer-songwriter and producer, and she works with a lot of other people. She has done everything from producing Latin dance music to writing for K-pop artists. But on her own, she makes really awesome, vibey R&B. This new album is entirely self-written, recorded, and produced on her own label, and it is just such a lovely listen, a lovely vibe. I got hip to her last year because she did some collaborations with some other artists I liked, and so when this album came out, I really wanted to spend time with it, and it is well worth it. It is exactly the kind of music that I want to hear, especially right now in these winter months when I'm kind of holed up and want to be cozy but not folky cozy. There's a line there, and this just is just a lovely album. If you're going to start with a song, start with Delusional and go from there.
My number 9 is another DC artist. Surprise, surprise. This is an artist called Straphanger, who released an album this year called From the Hot Air Balloon. This is the solo project of a singer-songwriter named Zach Basile, who's also in a great DC band called Home Remedies, who play this really interesting folk, power pop, emo mix of things. And the really cool thing is all 3 of the core members of that band put out solo projects on Halloween this year, which I wrote up for City Paper recently. Really cool thing to do as a group. So it's sort of cheating, but I think you could pick any of their 3 albums for a year-end list. But I did choose Straphanger, which is more kind of showcasing the folk side of the Home Remedies sonic universe. This one reminds me a lot of the Mountain Goats and Bright Eyes and maybe Elliott Smith. Zach Basile has this really vivid lyrical style. He chooses interesting subjects. There's a really beautiful song on this album called Beached, which is sung in the last verse to a beached whale. The production on this album is meticulous. It was recorded partially on a microphone and partially on his cell phone, and then really just very smartly mixed and assembled. If he hadn't told me himself that the drums on this album are digital, I wouldn't have noticed. So basically every part of this, the lyrics, the recording, the production, the just all of it works for me. All of it is super cool and distinct among these kinds of solo singer-songwriter types.
Speaking of solo singer-songwriter types, but this one tours with a full band. So the other artist in that show I was talking about is Monica, is the band name. That is the project of one Devin McKnight, who, if you are an indie rock fan, you might know because he used to be in Speedy Ortiz. He released an album under Monica. By the way, that's spelled Maneka, which is not how I would pronounce it, but I am wrong. He pronounces it Monica, Maneka. The album that came out this year, his latest, is called Bathes and Listens, all lowercase. You can tell from reading the lyrics. Thank you to artists on Bandcamp that put the lyrics on their pages so that I can read along while I'm listening to you sing. These songs are personal and they mean a whole lot to him. He lived, by the way, he used to live in Brooklyn. When I met him, he was living in Brooklyn. Now he lives in Philadelphia. I wonder if that made finding collaborators maybe a little more difficult, or maybe not. It's a big city too. But the songs are super personal lyric wise, really catchy. It's guitar laden indie rock because he's a guitarist. And one of them reminded me of Hum. I love Hum, and I was not expecting that sound out of Devin. It's a great record. He's really busy promoting right now. I really hope that he goes out on tour because I would love for Monica to swing through Ohio so that you, Juliet, and I can go see them. And I hope he swings by DC so you, Taylor, can go see him. It's a good record, and I will probably be listening to it for most of next year. It's a good rock record.
All right, on to number 8. Nico Case, Neon Gray, Midnight Green. Nico Case is somebody I have followed from the very beginning, though her albums have never made it onto my top 10. That's probably because I've only been doing top 10 lists since like 2018 because I resisted for a long time. But this album is such a triumph to me. It really takes the intimacy and the songwriting from her very early albums, like I'm talking Furnace Room Lullabies days, with some of the weird, intricate production she's gotten into on more recent releases. And it marries them in a way that feels really thoughtful and authentic. One of the things she said about this album is that she wanted it to sound like real people. So if you listen very carefully with headphones, you'll hear the sort of noise of humanity in the session, you know, a chair dragging across the floor a little bit or somebody adjusting a little bit. She deliberately didn't over isolate people in the studio, and it just gives it a warmth and an authenticity that I think pairs so well with her writing.
Nico Case, born in Alexandria, Virginia. Just have to put that on the record, as always. My number 8 pick is Animal Hospital by the band Ganser. This is a post-punk band from Chicago. Mike, I see you're very excited about this one. I started following this band in 2020 when they put out an excellent record called Just Look at That Sky. And now it's been 5 years. They've gone through some lineup changes, but I'm just so excited to have another record from them. The last one I would say was a little more arty, a little more in line with the kind of really stark, talk singy post-punk stuff that was going on in 2020, really having a moment then. This one I think is a little more dancey, it's a little more electronic, but it's just as driving. It still has this really confrontational edge, which was kind of what drew me to them to begin with. So I think if you put this record on, you hear the first song, Black Sand, you're going to know pretty immediately whether you're going to vibe with this band, and I recommend you go try doing that if you have not.
Let the record show that I love Cancer. And I'm very jealous that they managed to get Hanif Abdurraqib to write them a little blurb on one of their albums. And fellow Midwesterners, right? Like, they're awesome. I really would love to get them to come to play in Dayton. I completely forgot they put out a record this year. I missed it. Shame on me. But I love this band. And Taylor, thank you for reminding me. I'm going to have to go give that a listen. Because I like the other ones you mentioned. I dig those. My next one is Valerie June, Owls, Omens, Oracle. Valerie June is a singer-songwriter in the folk Americana blues R&B soul tradition from Tennessee. This album has some, like, take like the bones of an old Negro spiritual and then occasionally throw some distorted guitar on it, but also some old school R&B groove, and that's kind of what she does. I haven't heard anyone like it. Her voice is super unique. And I don't know that a lot of people know about her. Also, when I see her comment stuff on social media, she comes off as kind of sassy sometimes, and I dig that. So go check out the new Valerie June record, folks.
I'll co-sign on that one. It's fantastic. Great pick, Mike. Number 7 is Aesop Rock, Black Hole Superette. Okay, you can't go wrong with an Aesop Rock album, right? The reason this one stuck out to me is, you know, I hear this ongoing conversation about whether or not hip hop is a young person's game only, you know, and part of that is it's an air quotes younger genre compared to some others. But we see Aesop Rock at 49 growing into what it means to be an older MC. He's as tight as ever. He's as clever as ever. This album pairs, very thoughtful explorations of what it is to be a person in America right now, what it is to grow older and still love making music, and the very mundane. There's a song called Movie Night that is about taking his dog out for a walk and all of the people that he meets along the way that ask him about his weird dog, that has blue eyes. It's so fun. It's such a great album. Solid front to back.
I missed this one, and just looking at the features on this record also, I'm very, very, very excited to go listen to that later today. My number 7 pick is the album Snowcaps by Snowcaps. How are we feeling about Snowcaps, everybody here? I'm getting some thumbs up from Juliet. I'm getting a big old shrug from Mike.
100% ignorant. Please educate me, sir.
So this is the new record from Katie Crutchfield, better known as Waxahachie, and her sister Allison,
Oh.
also of the band Swearin'. Now we're here. Now we're all on the same page. I will be so honest with you. I like Waxahachie a lot, but lately I've really been missing Katie Crutchfield's older work before the alt country pivot, particularly P.S. Eliot, which was her previous project with her sister. So this record really felt like a personal gift to me as someone who's getting a little bit sick of the alt country boom in 2025. Not just from her, it's not her fault. It's just a general trend that, trends. We know them, we love them, we get sick of them.
I thought it was Wilco's fault, but I could be wrong.
If you want to go all the way back, sure, yes, I would love nothing more than to lay this all at the feet of Jeff Tweedy. So let's do that. Let's do that and be done with it. But on this Snowcaps record, I love the sibling harmonies. I love that it doesn't sound like MJ Lenderman is on this album, even though he is. It's just a nice, smooth indie rock record. It's the kind of thing you can put on anytime for anyone, have a good time. It's that record for me this year when I'm reaching for something, at a get together just to set the mood, have a nice time.
And it was the best surprise of the year.
Yes, 100%.
Another one to add to my list. My next one is called The Black Bolts. I'll spell that. Thee space black like me. Bolts, Boltz, by Tunde Adembipe. You might remember him from such bands as TV on the Radio. This is his latest solo effort. It is outstanding. I really didn't know what I was going to get when I picked this up to listen to, and I got like rock and roll, but also kind of dancey, but also kind of weird, and it's just really good. Interesting lyrics, impeccable production. Dude's kind of a genius, I think. I think he might actually be a genius. Anyway, if you like rock and roll, and definitely if you were a fan of TV on the Radio, go check out Tunde's solo record.
Saw TV on the Radio at Primavera in Portugal this year, and it was easily a highlight of my live music year.
Well, that's cool.
I saw TV on the Radio back in the day, but I saw Tunde perform this album this spring, and it was amazing. And he's also the nicest dude. Got to meet him for a hot second afterward.
So cool.
The nicest guy. All right. Number 6 is Mereba, The Breeze Grew a Fire. This is one of those albums that came out pretty early in the year. And sometimes you just know with an album, I kind of knew from the first listen, like, I think this is going to make it onto my top 10 list. And the more I've learned about Mereba as an artist, the more I've spent time with this album, absolutely worthy of a top 10 list. Mereba's been around for a while. She started off playing folk music in North Carolina. She was then part of the Atlanta underground scene in the 2010s. This is only her second album. Her first for Secretly Canadian. She was mentored by Stevie Wonder, so she's got a lot of cred here. This album finds her examining both her new role as a mother, but also her relationship with her father, who is originally from Ethiopia. She got to spend time in Ethiopia, really exploring her familial homeland, and all of that informs the writing on this record. It's simultaneously very personal, but also very, very groovy. And it's just, I said the other day about this album, it takes up a lot of space without being in your face. There are some albums that are very like in your face, and this is not that, and yet it's a very sonically enveloping album, and I love that about her. I'm really excited to see what else she does with Secretly Canadian because she just started her contract with them.
My number 6 is an album called Tunnel Vision by a band called Beach Bunny. This is a band that I feel like hasn't really gotten their due. They were pigeonholed early on as a TikTok band because they had a couple of viral moments there, but it's been really impressive seeing them over the years really hang in there, keep improving and growing. This record has a lot of really fun, bubbly, upbeat guitar songs. It also has a song called Clueless, which is one of my personal favorite songs of the year, looking at and challenging the nostalgia you start to feel in your 30s, kind of confronting the fact that things weren't necessarily better when you were younger, even though it can be a helpful kind of crutch sometimes to feel like they were. I'm just really excited to see this band mature over the last few years. I love their last album. I love this album too, and really glad they're still at it.
My next one is going to give you to Deja Vu because it's I Don't Know How, But They Found Me by Jensen McCrae, who is awesome. And I'm very jealous that Juliet got a chance to go see her. Fantastic singer, songwriter, but writes like she's older than she is. And just from watching on social media, seems like a true like industry pro by now. I think she's been at this for a long time for someone that's still in her 20s, as far as the touring and all of the business minutia. A part of that is she lives in LA, so she's like right next to all the industry people, and that probably helps. But on this album, the songs are good. There's a lot of acoustic guitar. You can tell that she means what she writes, which as a songwriter, that's something that's really important to me. And everything she does is better than the last thing she does. So I'm really interested in knowing what the next thing she does will be.
I'm so glad that one made it onto your list, Mike. All right, my number 5 is probably going to be perhaps it's almost getting eye rolly because it's showing up on everybody's list, but it's on my list and I have reasons. Geese, Getting Killed. This is the album that has surprised everybody, and so here's my deal with this. I've always liked Geese. They've been I said the other day, more than fine. Like they've put out good records. This is their third album. I had no expectations for it other than Geese is putting out a new album. Great. That will be a solid indie rock album. And then they release Getting Killed, and it's like, oh, these guys are getting weird. And I like it. They are tapping into something that I think is perhaps them getting comfortable as a band with stepping into some discomfort, perhaps. Getting a little less precious about the music that they're making and just like really diving into something sonically that's a little more felt than articulated. This makes me very excited for their future. If they can really lean further and further into this and really go full tilt into the weird, I will be excited to hear it. I also think that this album represents something I'm already seeing locally that I hope represents a larger trend in music, which is a lot of younger artists are starting to really lean into that weirdness a little bit, a little more experimental, a little noisier. Locally, I see a lot of our artists really nodding back to Brainiac in a way that excites me a lot. So if this album is kind of the big national nod to a weirder sound right now in indie music, I'm here for it.
Now I want to go listen to Brainiac. My number 5 pick is the album Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party by Hayley Williams. I wonder if I'm the only one who picked this. I have to admit, I had never listened to a Hayley Williams solo album before this one, even though I grew up with Paramore. I always liked that band a lot. But in a year where I felt kind of disappointed by a lot of the bigger pop records, by people like Sabrina Carpenter and Addison Rae and Lorde, those records just simply weren't for me, it turned out. This was the one that stuck with me, and maybe it's just the way that she released it at first as this sort of 17 individual track dump. But there's this real sense of her letting loose, having fun on this album. There's the love song to her antidepressants. There's the one where she interpolates the Bloodhound Gang for some reason. There's this overall feeling of creative outpouring that is really exciting to hear. And just a lot of great songwriting. I love the sounds of this album, the vocal processing. Just really cool to see her kind of stretching out and letting loose in this way.
So far, I've only given you solo artists, even though they tour with bands or might have band names. They've all been solo. So we're gonna actually bring in actual bands now. And I've only given you brown people so far. And when as far as singers, this continues because my next one is Deftones' Private Music, stylized in all lowercase, with the ever lovable Chino Moreno being the singer. So when this came out, I saw a bunch of reviews that were like, "This is their best work since White Pony," and White Pony is an album that meant a whole lot to me, a whole lot to a younger version of me. And strangely enough, I didn't listen to anything they've done in the intervening years. But the reviews made me go listen to it more than once, and it sounds like a Deftones record. If you like this band, you will like this record. If you do not like this band, you will not like this record. But they still sound like themselves. They're not really grabbing a whole lot of modern production trends, and Mikey likes that. Like, do what you do, but the songs are good.
All right. My number four is an artist who I think every album she's released so far has appeared on my top 10 list, Sudan Archives, the BPM. I have followed Sudan Archives since her debut album. I love watching her evolution. This one finds her further evolving. There's a grittiness to this that we haven't heard before. Perhaps dropping or feeling empowered to drop some of the precision that classical training sort of instills in you. And we find her on the dance floor. It's a very dance floor confessional album. She's tapping into some Afrofuturism in terms of the sounds, but she's doing it using a lot of older synthesizers. We've got a lot of old Rolands on here. And yet it's still just so authentically her. The themes lyrically and sonically that we hear in this record are not so drastically different from her first and second albums. It's just a joy to watch an artist evolve like this. I based on the name, I was kind of like, ooh, what are we getting with this one? Am I going to like it? And of course, I ended up just loving it. She's an artist I stand by, I advocate for. I just want to see her records in more and more people's hands.
That's a great record.
This one's on my list, and I didn't get to it. And before you joined, Juliet, I was complaining to Taylor that there's records that I meant to get to, and I didn't get a chance to listen to it. And this is probably because every time we do this, you say something nice about her. So I will get this one listened to. Thank you for bringing it up.
Easily could have made my list too. Great record. My number 4 pick is an album called In the Blue Light by Kalela, who is an alternative R&B artist who I was sort of familiar with before, not with any real depth. I would check in because I would see her on year-end lists. She's originally from DC, it turns out, but based in LA now, many such cases. This is a live album that she recorded at the Blue Note Jazz Club in New York City with an ensemble including piano, harp, backup singers, and it's just a really gorgeous, intimate kind of recontextualizing of her catalog. There's some really interesting covers. She covers Joni Mitchell, which is great. And it's just a really nice meditative jazz record. I love an album in a small room with a live audience. I love anything with a harp. It's checking a lot of boxes for me. It's another nice surprise I wasn't looking for this year that has kind of helped me better understand this artist who I wasn't as into before.
I loved her last one. I really need to spend time with this one.
All right, so my next one came from an end of the quarter list from quarter one, but I didn't actually listen until like 4 weeks ago. But hey, it was new to me, and it was good. It's by a band called Wunderbar, which is German for something, I'm gonna guess. The record is called Surgery and Pleasure. They are from New York. It would appear. No, they are from Boston, Massachusetts. I am wrong. I get my East Coast cities confused sometimes. I don't even know how to describe this to people. Weird, not weird, not experimental weird. Weird as in they take different genres and put them together. So I hear some kind of like 90s post-punk, early 2000s post-punk. There's some of it that's a little danceable. There's some of it that almost sounds power pop as far as like the guitar texture, not like the vocals at all. Some of it's kind of fuzzy, like early 90s alternative fuzzy, but it doesn't sound anything like early 90s alternative. It's an interesting indie rock record from a band that I had never previously heard of. Taylor is probably familiar with them. I see a look on his face. Maybe not.
I know the name, but if I'm going to be so real with you, I have not heard their music.
You should be real. I dig this record.
Okay, getting into the bronze medal territory here. Number 3, Lido Pimienta's La Belleza, and I hope, Mike, that my Spanish pronunciation was close enough.
You talk, I'll go look it up.
Okay, thank you. Lido Pimienta is a Colombian artist. I've been following her work for quite a few years. She has previously worked more in the kind of electronic, like electropop arena. This album finds her in a total shift working with a chamber orchestra. And part of this shift was because on her last album, Miss Columbia, she started composing some sort of larger, more orchestral things, but she was very frustrated by her album getting pigeonholed into air quotes world music. She said, oh yeah, well, I'm a woman from the Caribbean and I'm brown and I fit into these categories, therefore world music. But what I'm trying to make is an experimental album. So she pushed it even further. At first, it's kind of like a dare to the industry with this album, and found that she was really enjoying herself. And the result is a lush, fascinating album. And the way that the orchestra plays off of her voice is absolutely stunning. She's got this beautiful, very strong, emotive voice. And I've never quite heard her voice like this before. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It is very atmospheric, and the album is divided into movements as a contemporary classical piece would be. So while it falls into that sort of contemporary classical experimental zone, it's very, very accessible, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful listen. She also did a Tiny Desk concert fairly recently. I highly recommend watching that.
I had never heard of this artist, and your pronunciation was really close, Juliet. It sounded Italian the way you said it.
I think I did that last time too.
Belleza. So in
Yeah.
Spanish, Z, unless you're from Spain, Z is S, so belleza, which means beauty.
I was so excited. This one hit at a bad time of year for me, and I missed it, but I loved Miss Columbia, and I'm very excited that there's something here to dig into. My bronze medal pick is going to be Dead Channel Sky by Clipping, the latest from the LA experimental hip hop trio who previously brought you Visions of Bodies Being Burned. Mike, you didn't know when you invited me on the show that you were going to be opening yourself up to me talking about my undergraduate thesis in literature.
I'm okay with that. I'm
buckle up.
nerdy.
I don't think I've ever been so excited to see the title of an album before. For those who don't know, Dead Channel Sky is derived from the first line of the book Neuromancer by William Gibson, foundational piece of cyberpunk science fiction. That line is, the sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel. And sure enough, this album is Clipping doing what they've previously done with horror, other types of genre fiction, but with cyberpunk. And I wrote my thesis on William Gibson and his Sprawl trilogy, of which Neuromancer is the first book. So this is another record that feels like it was made specifically for me this year. I'll say the beats totally nail the retro-futurist aesthetic of it all. And conceptually, it's a really cool match because one of the things about Neuromancer that I really liked getting into in my research is the way that it used the science fiction technology in the story as a way to explore narrative perspective from a kind of postmodern angle. And the cool thing about Clipping is that they have always had this rule lyrically. They don't use the I pronoun in any of their lyrics. And so they're very interested in kind of the way narrative perspective works in hip hop. So it's a perfect match on a really like deep stylistic level. And I will stop myself before I go on too much further, but it's a really cool project. And the song "Change the Channel" I think is one of my favorites all year.
I mean, I could have listened to more, and I've never heard of this project, so now I have more to listen to. So my next one, if I'm being like snarky and mean, which I really shouldn't be because that's not cool, but like my first instinct would be to tell people that this album sounds like what Wet Leg would sound like if Wet Leg were good. And it is, I know, I'm very mean. People love Wet
Fighting
Leg.
words, Mike. Fighting
People
words.
love Wet Leg. I am just not one of those people. But this is let's be positive now. Apologies to Wet Leg. Your art is valid, and you don't need to listen to me. You don't need me at all because you're great. But Mama, welcome to my blue sky. And if given the choice between Wet Leg and Mama, for me it's Mama every day of the week. There's just more here. By which I mean there's more guitars. It's louder. There's layers. The singing isn't talky. It's actually singing. And it seems to say more to me. It reminds me of some of the rock and roll I grew up with in the 90s. Like, and these people are a lot younger than us, Juliet, but someone handed them like all of the Hole records and Veruca Salt records and, you know, probably also the Gin Blossoms because there's some really poppy songwriting in here, despite the layers of guitar. This is exactly the kind of record that I would have wanted to listen to when I was 17 or 18. And for some reason, this is still, when I run into music like this, which is not really popular anymore, I'm like, ooh. And I think that's just kind of what Mama is. They just want to be a really cool rock and roll band. And I am okay with that. Uh, Female fronted, and it rocks. If you like female fronted rock bands, you will like this record. And the next one I talk about, which is called A Tease, or oh, what was the other thing Juliet said it was called? I forget. What was the other thing it's called?
A forward promote.
A forward promote. I'm going to forwardly promote that the next record I'm going to talk about will also be a female fronted rock band. But
That's a great phrase.
yeah, I will.
I
I will
just
stop now.
I just want to say that I saw Mama and also Wet Leg at Primavera, and I liked them both, and I'm not picking sides.
You are a much kinder individual than me. It's just well, that's just not for me. I recognize that they are just not for me. It's okay.
Well, I've been playing both records, and I'm not going to choose sides either, but I will sort of piggyback off of what you said, Mike, for my number two, talking about albums that you feel like could have fit in the 90s, or artists that are nodding to things you like, or somebody must have handed them a bunch of CDs. Another repeat artist for me, Blonde Shell. This is their second album. If you asked for a picture, I am a huge advocate for Blonde Shell. Their first album just blew me away. The second one, I have noticed in talking to people, not everyone loves the second one as much as the first one. I really love this second one. We see Sabrina Teitelbaum in a really contemplative, introspective space. There's a lot of sort of questioning lyrically about burnout and sort of like how much of yourself are you going to give to any person or thing? How much are you going to put yourself out there versus how much are you going to sort of hold back for yourself? I feel like this is, and I said this about the first one too. If you had handed 13-year-old me this album, I would have fallen in love with it then. I love that it's an album where I can sort of trace my tastes. It speaks to that younger music fan in me, but it is also very relevant and accessible and interesting to me in my 40s as well. So it is not just a young person's album, or especially I feel like a lot of music by women gets pigeonholed like, oh, this is only for teenage girls. No, this album is really great for everybody. Just solid musically. I listened to it kind of nonstop. I am, a Blonde Shell fan for life at this point.
This one's on my list and I didn't get to it, which is, shame on me, but I will.
My number two pick, we're really getting down to the wire now, is an album called Pleaser by a band called Pretty Bitter, another pop band from DC. That's, I guess, my theme of the year. Essentially, the pop band from DC right now, Pretty Bitter. This is an incredibly catchy and colorful record that's about surviving your 20s and reckoning with all the death and sadness that those years inevitably leave in their wake. And the choruses on this album are just extremely cathartic and beltable, which I confirmed thoroughly, as any good journalist would, by seeing this band live 6 times this year and losing my voice every time. Because it's just that kind of a band, that kind of a group of songs. Also, in keeping with my already stated alt country fatigue, I'm always excited when I hear bands do something really different with that genre's instrumentation. In this case, we have an indie pop band who had the realization that banjo rolls and twinkly Midwest emo guitar tapping serve really similar functions, which is just to play a lot of notes very quickly. And so on this record, you get songs like Thrill Eater, where you have banjo that basically sounds like American football, basically. And I can't authoritatively say that's never been done before, but it's the first time I've ever heard it, and that was a really neat kind of innovative thing this year.
6 times.
6 times, no kidding. Yeah, most recently about a week ago.
Nice.
If they tour near you, see them.
My next one comes with a story. So a couple years ago, I go to this music conference in Austin, and one of the post-conference like networking and do things event is a showcase where bands get to play. And earlier in the day, a band asked me to sit in on bass with them because networking is a thing, and we had met. And yeah, sure. I did not bring my bass, but yeah, they're like, yeah, this back line, there's supposed to be one there. So Misty and I, that's my wife, for those who don't know, we get to the venue, and there's more than one stage of this venue. When we get there, the main stage has a band on it of 4 young ladies, and they're covering Touch Me I'm Sick by Mudhoney. And I walked in, and I don't think I'd heard that song in like 10 years or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think any of these people were born when that record came out. And that's not one of those super mainstreamy 90s rock bands, right? Like, you had to be kind of like, there wasn't, I don't remember hearing that on the radio or anything. So somebody in their life had to be really into that kind of music. To shorten the story that would otherwise go on for 15 minutes, it turns out there was no bass, and the band I was supposed to sit in with, and I spent some time learning some of their songs that day, were freaking out. And the very kind bass player from the 4 ladies who were covering Mudhoney let us borrow her bass for the set and basically saved the day. That band is called Die Spitz. The bass player, her name's Kate. Shout out to Kate for being kind when she didn't have to be. And they're totally blowing up right now. They've done Europe tours. They've done multiple tours to the States. They are on Third Man Records because they ended up playing a show with Jack Black at some point and apparently hit it off.
Jack White, you mean?
That's what I meant. I meant Jack White. I get my white people named Jack confused. Yeah. I mean, it would also be cool to play a show with Jack Black.
It would just be more surprising for this particular band.
Yes, it would be. But he does not own Third Man Records. So thank you for that, Taylor. I meant Detroit's own Jack White.
Gotta speak up for the white guys.
Gotta speak up for the white guys named Jack. The Die Spitz record that they put out this year, which you can tell based on their previous sound, right, that there's been some investment into them for higher quality. I'm not saying their previous production was bad. I'm just saying you can tell someone's spending money on them right now and helping them out. The record is called Something to Consume, and it's like, remember L7, Juliet? They will remind you of L7. Do you remember L7, Taylor?
Oh, yes.
All right, so think loud and punky, but not only punk. Like, they have some kind of slow, grindy songs. And live, they're a force to be reckoned with. This did not happen at the show that I saw them play when they were, I don't know if they still do covers. They have no need to anymore. But if you find videos of them, multiple members of the band enjoy crowd surfing. One of them, Kate, crowd surfs while playing bass. The singer crowd surfs while singing. The singer, she climbs up amps and on rafters like Eddie Vedder used to do. There's lots of jumping and stomping, and one band member riding on the neck of another band member while playing, and instrument switching, and they're just a whole lot of fun and way, way too young for me because they're all in their early 20s and they have all this energy. But the songs are really good and they really rock. And they were kind to me once, so like I only want good things for them. But no joke, the record's really good, and if it wasn't, I wouldn't be talking about this band in this conversation. I would save it for another conversation when we talk about nice people. But the record is excellent. They have a lot of anger, which, you know, gesturing at the world around us, reasonable, and they sing about it. And I am curious to know how they're being treated by the industry because the industry is famously pretty misogynistic and can be condescending to women. And I'm wondering how much of that they're experiencing. But this is a really good band, and they're touring a ton right now, which means that they're just going to get better as far as their playing chops is concerned. And if you are not familiar with Die Spitz, that is spelled DIE space SPITZ, and they are wonderful. Go listen to this record.
Love this record. I need to spend a little more time with it. This is absolutely something that could have made my list too. I'm a fan.
This one is new to me, but I am like about to go run right out and locate it because it sounds like it's right up my alley. Oh my gosh, are we at number ones? Number one.
This is it.
This is it. Here we are. I joked on the radio that my number one is probably really obvious to people who listen to me on the radio regularly because I've played this album nonstop since it's come out, probably literally every week. Tune Yards, Better Dreaming. I have been a Tune Yards fan for a long time. This album is just gorgeous. It sees Meryl Garbus and Nate Brenner as new parents and sort of navigating that. In fact, we get some little clips of their toddlers scattered throughout the album in a way that's really endearing. I have said that if, you know, in the wrong hands, I would find that completely obnoxious, but in this case, it's rather charming. As with most Tune Yards albums, there's some theming, or we can kind of see where Meryl, as the principal songwriter, is in terms of what she's thinking about, what she's concerned with, what's happening. And you see parenthood, yes, but in a larger context, this album is about community and protection, especially in terms of the LGBTQ plus community. And it follows a whole range of feelings that I think so represent life in 2025. Especially through her vocals. It's sweeping, it's beautiful, it's also angry and raw and filled with sorrow at other points. It is such a journey to listen to. Interesting songcraft, as always, from Tune Yards. It deals with a lot of ideas about like sort of what is community and what do we want from community and what is the protection of community and how do we protect those that need our care, but also stay mad as hell about, you know, the situations around us. I really love this album. I think this is probably vocally their best album. And, you know, as somebody who appreciates great singing, that's part of what drew me to this one, is just the way that Meryl's voice is just so very expressive. But there's a lot to mine with this one. I listened to it kind of nonstop since it came out, like a ridiculous amount of spins on this one for me personally and on the air.
Number one for me is Hunting Season by Home Is Where. And so now I've hit you with bait and switch, right? Because I like alt country when some people do it. And Home Is Where very much fall into that category. This is an emo band primarily from Palm Coast, Florida, originally, who unfortunately have had to leave Florida because of how hostile the state has been to trans people. So this is an album that deals a bit with that and with that complicated relationship with the South and particularly Florida and with home. And I love hearing this very visceral, screamy emo band also incorporating harmonica and steel guitar. It's such a cool and subversive use of those elements. And also lyrically, B. McDonald has this really neat blend of narrative folk storytelling and the really abstract imagery that harkens back to a lot of the weirder stuff from second wave emo. Um, I haven't seen this record get as much attention as their last album, The Wailer, which was on a lot of people's lists. I think I had it as an honorable mention when it came out a couple years ago. And it's just a real shame to not see this one get the same kind of attention because Home is Where is still one of the best, most unique emo bands out there. And I would say one of the best, most unique bands of any genre right now. I'm not currently aware of any bands that are using the singing saw. I would love to be wrong about that. Please, somebody, if you know of more, tell me, send me those bands. But to my knowledge, Home is Where is the only active band that is doing this thing this way.
This is one I've never heard of, so I'm gonna go hear of it. And this is why I like that we get to do this. My favorite record this year was in the same article reviewing quarter one records that led me to discover Wunderbar. And much like the Wunderbar record, I didn't get to this till 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was immediately in love with that record. It is a band called Cloakroom. The record is called Last Leg of the Human Table. Cloakroom is a rock and roll band, and this album, if I could pick one word to describe it, it would just be big. Not like metal big, but big. Distorted guitars that swirl around you, obviously double and triple track guitars. Some of it kind of has a Rival Schools feel, if anyone remembers that band from the early 2000s, late 90s. Some of it sounds like Hum, which again, I'm an avowed Hum lover. So when I heard a song or two that was like, oh, Hum. And some of it just sounds like really interesting, big rock and roll. They have some clear shoegazy influences. They have some clear, well, like shoegaze, but played faster than most shoegaze bands' influences. Like, so if you're local, let's say something for the Dayton people. If you like Lab Partners, you will like this band. For people that are not from around here, if you like My Bloody Valentine, you will probably like this band. And I just found out about them a few weeks ago. So whoever, I don't remember who wrote that article, but people like Taylor who write for various publications keep doing the thing because people are out here, some of us are out here still reading that, and that drives a lot of my personal discovery. I do not let the streaming platform drive, or any of them drive my discovery. I like people telling me what they like. How about you? We're done. Yay. But this is on the topic of how do you find new music. Juliet probably has the easiest job because people are just throwing music at her because she's an MD. But how are you discovering your new favorite things these days?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have the privilege of having thousands of songs hit my inbox on a weekly basis. That said, though, like, you still have to dig. Like, and my colleagues and I spend a lot of time, like, in the Bandcamp tags. Hint to independent artists, put your stuff on Bandcamp, please. Like, number one, let us pay you for your music. And number two, it is one of the better, in terms of streaming platforms, places for discovery. If you tag your stuff even remotely accurately, there are people there that are looking for your music. So we spend a lot of time there. I do still read music publications too, because for as much as is coming in, we're not getting everything, obviously. And it's very easy to miss stuff when you're getting that volume of material in every week. Sometimes something's not hitting in the moment and you set it aside and you need, a great music writer or a friend or, somebody at a local record store to say, hey, no, check this out, to give it a second listen.
Yeah, seconding that, just as somebody who gets way too many promo emails to ever listen to. So much of the way I discover music is still social, honestly. Anytime I meet somebody just out in the world, my question is, what are you listening to? Whether they're people who are as invested in music as I am or not, just anybody I meet, that's my go-to. Because you get a much better feel for what people are into kind of on the ground level that way versus just like the top down. Well, what did Brooklyn Vegan write about this week? What did Paste? What did Pitchfork? What did Stereo Gum? That's all great stuff, and I love following those publications. But I also try very much to just like talk to people at shows, which is, I guess, the other way is that I go to a lot of shows and I find myself sort of leapfrogging from artist to artist that way, just based on who's opening for who and who's shouting out who from stage and that kind of thing. So that's also just been the most fun way for me, is to sort of ask people what they're into, and then you find out what people are excited about. And when you go to shows, you get exposed to things that you wouldn't if you just stayed home and listened to whatever algorithms will serve you up. So that's been my biggest source of new stuff, has just been trying to make that a more personal kind of connection. Interviews also, whenever I'm interviewing an artist, some of the best stuff is the stuff that I get recommended by people who I'm already kind of pursuing.
Those are both fantastic summaries. So, dear listener, your main takeaway here, and I agree with both Juliet and Taylor on this, talk to actual human beings, because they will give you good recommendations. And then also, it's just, if you love music the way we do, and maybe even if you don't, it's just enjoyable to discuss art that moves you with other people that are similarly moved by art, which is where I get to say thank you to Juliet and Taylor for taking their time to come talk to me about music. As a reminder, you can find Juliet on the internet because she is the music director of WYSO, our local in the greater Dayton and Springfield area NPR affiliate. They are technically based in Yellow Springs. Taylor Ruckle is an independent music journalist, writer person who writes for more than one publication, because that's kind of what the freelance world is all about. Taylor, I'm going to tell you how I met Taylor. I was doing promotion for an album of mine a long time ago, and Taylor wrote about it. And so much of this business is about hitting it off with people and building relationships. And I thought Taylor was cool, and Taylor thought I was cool, and now we're friends. So, and now I have more people to nerd out on music with, because we both kind of, and Juliet, we all kind of get it. This is important to us, and we are glad that you have listened to us, dear listener. And if perchance you have found something that piqued your interest from the 30 plus albums we've discussed, go listen. And again, if there's something that we missed that you love, find us and tell us. We will gladly give it a chance. So thank you two for doing this again. Same time next year?
Of course.
Anytime, Mike.
Once again, thank you to Juliet and Taylor for taking the time to talk to me about music and being so enthusiastic. I truly enjoy talking to them. Thank you, dear listener, for coming back after several months and listening to this episode of the podcast. I promise that I'll be better in 2026 about getting episodes up in a more timely fashion. Have a lovely rest of your day or week.